Since fuel prices have started to rise, you've sort of noticed things with all the various monitoring tools that you've got on farms around the country.
Yeah, we monitor over 7,000 fuel tanks. So obviously after the war kicked off, we saw the price spike. And the first thing we looked at was that, are there any telltale signs of an increase in theft? And we did see some anomalies, I'll call it, in the kind of increase in what we call unusual withdrawals.
So how many you got on board? Do you need more people, more farmers?
Yeah, so we've got about 40 in the first cohort. And so we've probably got, I'd say, another month of kind of validation with just them on board. But probably end of April, early May, we'll be looking for a second round of betas to stress test it a little bit further.
So Levno is saying that it has seen a sharp increase in overnight fuel withdrawal events recorded through its fuel monitoring product over the past few weeks. So we thought we'd get the Chief Executive, Oscar Ellison, on to tell us exactly what that means and what people can do. Good to have you on the program, man. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good. Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah. So what have you noticed since fuel prices have started to rise? You've sort of noticed things with all the various monitoring tools that you've got on farms around the country.
Yeah, we monitor over 7,000 fuel tanks. So obviously after the war kicked off, we saw the price spike and got our data science team to have a bit of a look if we could see any weird stuff happening. And the first thing we looked at was that, are there any telltale signs of an increase in theft on farm? And we did see some anomalies, I'll call it, in the kind of increase in what we call unusual withdrawals. So this is the fuel disappearing from tanks that don't normally have overnight withdrawals, and suddenly there's 10 litres going here or 20 litres going there.
Yeah. What sort of increase have we seen?
It's pretty small, and it's hard to. Obviously, we just had Easter, which is changes the stats a bit. But we saw a 15% increase from when we compared that to back to February, and to the same time last year, it was 15% up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, like they're anomalous. So there's not necessarily a correlation here, but it is interesting to note. And I'm sure, I mean, if we read between the lines,
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to create any more panic than there already is or anything. But yeah, some people have legitimate reasons. Like we were looking at 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. There might be legitimate reasons for taking fuel out. And I think with the Levno system, fuel theft, when someone turns up with a trailer tank or 44-gallon drums and takes 500 litres, that gets noticed. But our fuel probes measure down to 5 litres, so you can see smaller stuff, which might be more of an inside job. And that's where we've seen a bit of an uptick.
Yeah, right. There's sort of, a couple of jerry cans kind of deal going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have any of the customers actually? Look, I imagine that people are grateful that they have the ability to be able to detect this sort of thing in the first instance. Have you actually heard of anyone saying, "Well, yeah, that's a bit unusual. Like we didn't do it; someone else must have"?
Yeah, we've had a couple. One was uni students back for the Easter holiday. It was a son thinking, "Oh, shoot, the price of fuel's gone up. I might get 20 litres from the parents." And then another one was a farm worker. So these happen sometimes. But yeah, it definitely. I guess you can see the pressure people are under, and we know our customers in the rural sector how critical fuel is to the job they do, and so glad to be providing that visibility at this point in time. I think the other thing that we saw in data, and this is a bit more spurrilous, but it does seem like, and we've had these anecdotes from the fuel suppliers, that farmers obviously want more in their tanks, so that maybe we're happy with it being half full, but are asking for it to be topped right up. So on average, the tanks we monitor, we're 5% more fill at the end of March than the end of Feb. So definitely some signs of stockpiling there. And then what I would advise against is we've had the anecdotes as well of people putting fuel in tanks and vessels that they probably shouldn't be, rusty old water tanks or ICBs or things like that. So huge health and safety danger, obviously, and both from explosions, from environmental leakages, and you'll just get contamination in the fuel, which will stuff up your machinery. So suggest people talk to their fuel suppliers, buy an accredited tank if you're super worried, but don't stop doing dodgy stuff, basically.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny what happens though, eh? It's like it's just an extrapolation of the classic, toilet paper goes in the supermarkets as the empty shelves everywhere, right? With the slightest hint of, supply constraint. It's just these symptoms are classic, aren't they? Really?
And then you notice it as well. Like I've seen in Auckland service stations, people turning up with multiple jerry cans and doing the same thing. So it's kind of panic that spreads. But yeah, as we understand it, we've got fuel on the way to New Zealand, and everything's kind of should be flowing. So I would encourage people to. I guess the price has already skyrocketed, so you probably missed the boat if you haven't already got onto the storage.
Yeah, well, there's that, and also, I mean, I see that the price is coming down slightly as well, but it's still high. It's still high, so it's
Yeah.
gone from high just down to high. So it's
We
still
have
there.
seen, and this is again confirmed, this is not so much in the farming, but more in like some forestry crews and contractors that have reduced use. So people are obviously feeling those kind of price supply demand is kind of coming into its own, and people are reducing the workload they're doing because of the high price. So that's another interesting thing that is market forces at work.
Big time. And look, you'll be seeing that. Everyone who owns a business is seeing it, right? In one way, shape, or another. How are you guys seeing it?
Oh, I mean, we've got 9 field techs around the country that drive Hiluxes, so very expensive to fill up and service our customers. But yeah, they're still on the road, installing a lot of new fuel ones, and out there servicing all our existing sensors. So yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed in the RUC charges, the road user charges, not things not having been done with that. That just seems a bit disappointing, considering the price of diesel now. I would have thought maybe something along those lines would have been nice to alleviate some of the pressure.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the politics of it, but yeah, I think the government could be doing more and potentially looking at people who, like, if you subsidise public transport up in Auckland, right, and that reduces the amount of people driving around the city. These are people who don't need it. We're in the rural sector. We do need it. It's critical for the job. So how can you free up supply from somewhere and make sure the people who need it are getting it? And I think that's critical when you think about farmers need to feed out their animals. They need to turn over their paddocks. They need to do the cropping. So yeah, I still think there's room for some politics to get involved here, but I'd love to see the government step up in some way.
Yeah, fair call. So just to sort of recap that. So you've seen anomalies. You've obviously spoken to customers. You've talked to people. It's in some instances, sure, there'll be theft from fuel tanks. There's no doubt about it. There's also other reasons. People wanting to stockpile. There's uni students in the mix as well. So there's a whole range of things. But at least we're able to have this, technology where we can actually look at this sort of stuff, and you can say to people, "Hey, listen, just keep an eye out." Would that be the sort of the advice, really?
Yeah, I mean it's simple stuff like security cameras, sensor lights on the driveway. Make sure the tank's locked at all times. Of course, I'm going to say get some tank monitoring in place so you have that visibility. But I think that's kind of what we're saying is make sure you're doing things safely, but it's probably a good time to keep your eyes on what's going on because people are getting worried and people are maybe acting not so truthfully and doing some dodgy stuff out there.
Yeah, no, fair call indeed. So, speaking of monitoring for tanks of all kinds, how's things going at Levno?
Yeah, Levno's going well. So yeah, that's what we do at Levno. We monitor the kind of critical assets and infrastructure of the farm. Fuel, that we've spoken about, also water, milk vats, and we're finally getting there with a feed silo monitoring product as well, which we're super excited about. So things are going pretty well, and we're obviously have a really good footprint here in New Zealand, but expanding into Aussie and up into Ireland at the moment.
No, okay, yeah. There's a big connection now with. I mean, it's probably always been there, but it seems to be more prominent now. New Zealand and Ireland, the connection there, with in an agriculture sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of agri-tech businesses going and kind of a free flow of people. I think post Brexit was the reason for us. We wanted that kind of English speaking way into Europe, and we saw Europe as an important market for us. So that was the first stepping stone over there, and very similar, like from a business perspective, just kind of get in and do it. A handshake's a handshake, and pastoral farming as well, like a big less imported feed, I guess. Lots of grass fed. So,
Yeah, where can people go to find out more about what you guys?
just jump on our website, levno.com, and you can see us there. Call us on our 0800 number, and one of our friendly team are available to have a chat if you want to know anything more about our products.
Fantastic, good stuff. Yeah, all right. Well, I think we've probably covered off the main talking point there in terms of just getting people cognizant of what's going on, safety, and securing what their assets and bits and pieces like that. So, good to talk with you, Oscar. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Dom. Cheers.
Ryan Luckman is the owner and developer of the DAGI app, which is the app, of course, that's helping farmers to manage and ward off drench resistance in sheep parasites. Now, Ryan was also highly commended in the Rural Professionals Awards last year, and he's also going to be a speaker at a Beef and Lamb New Zealand conference, which is coming up in Palmy, 22nd of April. He's also a vet at the Waimate Vet Centre Clinic in South Canterbury. So it's good to have you on the show, Ryan. How you doing, pal?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. No, good to be here.
How are things with the DAGI app?
No, they're going good. Like all good things though. Well, anything in the app world, takes twice as long and costs 3 times as much. But we're hopefully we've got a beta team on board who are doing testing at the moment, and they've been amazing to work with. And hopefully we're going to reward them this week with some colouring up of their heat maps and making the app worthwhile this week. So, yeah, everything hopefully going to plan.
Good to hear it. So, how many you got on board? Do you need more people, more farmers, or you're happy with the sort of the group, that cohort you've got at the moment?
Yeah, so we've got about 40 in the first cohort, and so we've probably got, I'd say, another month of kind of validation with just them on board, but probably end of April, early May, we'll be looking for a second round of betas to stress test it a little bit further. And so, yeah, if anyone's keen, do reach out for that second round.
Yeah, we'll give you details at the end for people to get in touch with you. But what's the feedback been like so far, Ryan?
Good. So I guess at the moment what they've got is the promise of it coming, so the big, juicy, meaty bit. So, just if we take a step back, what we're trying to give them is, at the moment, they're inputting essentially we've got a digital twin of their farm running. So they're putting in their sheep mobs, their cattle mobs, any cropping they're doing, and they're putting in, as they move their stock around their farm, that's getting put into the app at the moment. And in the background, what's happening is we've got a massive model that's predicting where all the larvae and worms are living. And so then we're going to, hopefully this week, be able to tell them, okay, from all that movement you've done since Christmas, what's the hot risk paddock? So that lamb paddock that you want to go graze tomorrow, that's great looking grass, is that a hot red rocket full of larvae that's going to stop them growing? So yeah, that'll be the big reward pit for them shortly.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. So how can it help sort of farmers, I guess, decide, when and what to drench and that sort of thing. Like you're drilling right down into the detail.
Yeah, so I think what we end up talking about a lot with parasites is that drenching story, because it's the real concrete bit of it. So we say, have they got worms or not? Do we need to drench them? Is the drench working and we should use that? But if you step a level up, then what we really need to be doing is, if we can avoid eating the larvae in the first place, then we don't get into the need for as much drenching, and then how we manage our refugia. So really what DAGI is about giving you the tools to do those higher level things where we say, okay, what's a good grazing management look like? How can I make good informed decisions about where I put the stock in the first place, so that we don't get into the situation where we have to drench, every 21 days just to keep them alive.
Right. So it's more a prevention sort of a tool strategy, as it were.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've probably seen that the new Wormwise booklet has just come out. And so that's been a really cool update. And I think the coolest part of it is the acronym FARMED, so FARMED. So, and that really encapsulates everything we should be doing in this worm resistance, or just worm space in general. And that's feeding, avoidance, which is what DAGI is really aimed at doing, like avoiding those larvae in the first place. Refugia. And refugia is another one that's real tricky, because it's about keeping good genetics in the population so that you don't have heaps of resistant genetics overwhelming. And we think managing larvae is bad enough because they're invisible, and now you have to think about the genetic makeup of those invisible larvae. It's very tricky. So DAGI's doing that at the same time. So we're predicting not only where the hot larvae are, but are they good or red or green, basically? Are they likely to be good genetics or bad genetics? And so that allows you to do that refugia picture at the same time. And then the MED of FARMED is monitoring and effective drenching. And that's, I think, where a lot of your combos have probably been on this podcast.
Yeah.
Are we doing our fecal count tests, reduction tests? Are we doing our drench checks? Are we using, Zolvix or StarTech at the right time? Those kind of things. But yeah, so I think we're pretty good at that end. It's just, the avoidance and refugia picture.
Right, which is where the DAGI app comes in, which is very cool. Excuse me. So yeah, it's you're right. We have spoken a lot about that on the program, definitely. I haven't seen the new booklet, but I knew that it was coming out. But size of the problem of drench resistance, and as far as you understand it at the moment.
Oh, it's pretty big. So I think the parliamentary paper that came out just a while ago put it in the $117 million a year cost to the industry. So it's quite big. But I think when you see it on the ground, so anyone who's had triple drench resistance diagnosed on their farm, and that's over a third of farms now, and that's probably under calculating, know the huge emotional cost and what it takes to get out of there. I mean, the good thing is it's not a death sentence anymore. We probably used to panic a lot when it first arrived, but these strategies really do work if you do them well. And it's just, they take a lot of intensive guidance and understanding. And so if anything we can do to help to put those practices into place, I think just makes it easier for the farmer.
Yeah, and there is a lot of information coming out about it, which is great, from a lot of different, sort of industry bodies and people like yourself and things like that. So I guess people now, they sort of facing it more head on rather than sort of, the I'll bury the head in the sand trick. Or
Oh, definitely. I remember when it first came out, like working in practice, like it was like the taboo subject. You didn't, it was, you didn't want your neighbours to know that you had drench resistance. It was. And now at discussion groups, it's great. People are so much more open because they realise, like, most of their neighbours have it. Most of their neighbours have been through something, and getting help is really, what are people actually doing? What works in real life? Those are the cool parts of discussion groups now.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you still doing work on cow wearables? Are you still
Yeah. So yep. No. So I've actually just retired from full-time vetting. So
have you?
Literally yesterday, I finished as a clinical vet, but I am continuing to do some consultancy work. So a lot with cow wearables, and actually just got back from Argentina, where I was talking at a conference there, but did some cow wearable work there even. So it's quite transferable.
That's very cool. So you were doing some work in Argentina. Talk to me about that. That sounds like good fun. You would have seen some interesting things.
Yeah, no, like great country, great asados, great meat. Yeah, very much enjoyed that part of it. But no, the farms were really cool because it was kind of like a modified New Zealand version, because they actually had LIC Jersey genetics. They were running a seasonal calving system, so it was very transferable, and they had sense hub collars on. So basically, very, very thankful. One of my farmer friends went over with me, who's from Argentina, so his Spanish is a lot better than my zero Spanish. So he was a good interpreter as we deep dived into the data, and it was really cool. It was quite transferable.
Yeah, there's an interesting link with New Zealand farmers and South America, like I think like Chile, Peru, places like that, and obviously Argentina as well. It's there's a wee connection there.
Yeah, I think they're slightly hot. They do get a little bit warmer, so some of the things don't transfer. They've got a lot of perennial ryegrass doesn't survive, so they have to use annuals, and they have to use fescues in summer. But yeah, that pasture basis and grazing intensity, and that's quite a link.
Congrats on the sort of the semi-retirement. I guess the DAGI app is going to take up a bit of time now. Is that kind of part of it?
Yeah, no. So that'll be my main focus going forward. So really looking forward to getting full time into it and digging my teeth into it every day. And then it allows us to expand a little bit. And so at the moment it's just been DAGI for sheep we've been working on, but we've got a couple of drench resistance isn't just a sheep problem, and definitely cattle are facing exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
and so we've got a couple of projects working in that cattle space to see what we can do there.
Oh, very interesting. Good stuff. And are you also, I mentioned at the start in terms of the beef and lamb event, so you're talking at that April 22nd. What's that event, and what are you sort of hitting on there?
It's Ag Innovation. So it's quite a cool roundup of speakers. I mean, it's worth probably coming along just to hear John Kerwin speak, actually. He's a great speaker if anyone hasn't heard him. He's really cool. But it's a lot about like the innovative solutions that are coming out for sheep and beef farms. So it's a real cool lineup of speakers. So I'll basically be giving a deep dive, get 45 minutes on DAGI. So it's a good way to, I guess, understand it, because obviously this is a very complex topic, and doing it quickly never gives it justice. So it'll be quite cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you need the space to talk about that sort of stuff. Because it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's like, well, okay, it's not just one thing. It's a process in the end, isn't it? There's a linear sort of a thing that you can track here.
Yeah. And like I was talking in a discussion group the other day, and it was really cool to see some farmers, and they said, I've been to about 15 of these talks over the years, and it was that talk that finally clicked. Without the other 14 talks beforehand, it wouldn't have probably clicked. But everything kind of clicked into place for him that day. It was cool to see when the penny drops for everyone.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, well, you got exciting times coming up then. Are you still doing any of the musical theatre? Have you got any time for that these days?
No. Actually, my family, my 3 kids were just in the kids show in Waimati last week. So that went off. That went really well. But no, I still play in a couple of bands. So no, it's still keeping very active in the music scene. It's a very good outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. What are you a front man?
I played violin in one band, and that's I sing. Right. Yeah, front man in one.
You do too. I remember this now from when we must have spoken at the maybe back into last year, because I remember you talking about that's right, with your kids in the theatre and stuff, and violin. That's what's twigged my memory actually. Yeah, good stuff. The fiddle.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, so Ag Innovation, that's coming up April 22nd in Palmy. So, people can go to the Beef and Lamb website and get all the info there. Okay, so the DAGI app, how do people find you, Ryan?
So probably the easiest way is just DAGI.nz, our website, and there's a contact us button at the bottom. If you flick there, we've got a wee emailing list so you can communicate, or if you're keen to be in on the next beta rollout, then just really drop us a line there. I think my phone number's on there too if you want to chat about it further. I think it'll be a cool time, this one, because we've got hopefully the colouring up's working. Hopefully we've got a little bit more instant reward for people putting in their data, so it'll be a good time to come on.
Are you going to be at field days?
Yes, we're definitely planning on it. We've got the Innovation Hub up there. Is a really cool place. We were there last time, and so that's one of my jobs now. I'm semi-retired, is to put my entry in for the Innovation Hub tomorrow.
Good stuff. Excellent. Well, good luck with that. We'll see you up at field days, hopefully. There's a lot of people to catch up with at field days, but hey, the intention's there anyway, Ryan, but all the best with the DAGI app. And as Ryan said, you can just go onto the website there and you'll be able to get in touch should you need to or find out any more info. All the best with everything, mate. Nice to catch up with you.
Yeah, nice to talk again. Cheers.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, as always, if you want to leave a comment or subscribe to the channel, like the page, and we've got new episodes for you every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Until next time, take care.